Welcome to part 2 of the Ironhead project. As you can see, I've jumped ahead a little bit in time. I got a bit carried away and I forgot to document a lot of the process. So I'm going to do a bit of a recap. Part 1 finished with finishing the frame. Since then, we've had a few developments. We've swapped out to an old round swing arm. I ended up building and designing up some Nest style super struts because the bike's kind of taken a bit of a digger look to it. I've got another video up making these aluminium digger fenders, so I've chucked one of them on there. Done a bit of a top end rebuild. Now, this here was the tank that I was doing in the first video, and I just got to a point where I was like, you know what, I don't even like that tank. It's definitely different. It's got a bit of a drag style to it, but yeah, so I kind of scrapped that. So the next tank I built was this aluminium coffin tank. So I had this on there for a while, and this was before I had this fender and stuff. I'll post a pic of that just here. So I still had the telescopic 35mm front end on there, had a different seat, and it was kind of cool, but it just wasn't what I was going for. So I scrapped this tank, and then after that, I had this kind of half-built body laying around, so I started building that to put on there. And like I thought, you know, like, yeah, that looks pretty cool. But again, it wasn't what I was after for this bike. So this got scrapped. This is actually going on another bike. I ended up building this seat pan for it, and then got my mate Dave from Badass Trim to upholster it. I got this croc leather from some fabric store in the city. I thought it was cool because it was like the exact same color blue as the frame. So the final tank is this tank here. So I fabricated this out of aluminium, got the flush mount cap. So you can see I've done a little bit of an experimental kind of finish on there to make it all look cast. And the whole purpose of that being, I want it bare metal, but I don't want to worry about scratches. So that was how we were looking. I then decided this seat has a bit too much bulk here to really have that kind of like digger feel. So after all of that, I've gone back to this, you know, takeoff seat. Painted the barrels like a mixture of old Ford blue and black, just to darken it up a bit. Painted the heads. I did a little bit of an etch into the rocker boxes. I've got the old trucker girls. This is really one of the features of the bike, and I built this oil tank for it with the whole goal being that I wanted it to really flow. I didn't want it to look like just a big chunky block there. It does look pretty big and chunky in there, but the pipes kind of hide it a bit. But as you can see, there's not really many flat panels on it. Everything's got these kind of like organic kind of curves. It will house the battery in there, so that line kind of flicks up into that line, and the fender something a bit different. And I've given all of these aluminium pieces that same finish, and I'll show you guys how I'm achieving that cast finish, because I've still got to do the top bit of the fender here. So it's time to get this exhaust happening, and I was going to clean it all up, polish out all the welds, and fucking polishing stainless is such a pain in the ass. So I just had a fucking brainwave. I'm going to put this hammered finish over all the pipes, just like I did all the aluminium tins. And I'm going to do it with this needle scaler. So I'd had a bit of a headlight dilemma. I've got a few of these little lights here, and even though they're all pretty small, I feel like they still look, even this one, they all still look a bit big for the bike. And I think that looks pretty fucking sick. It's nice and small. So the only problem is it's orange. So I had an idea to cast up a new lens for this, and I thought, oh, it might be cool if I put my little cheese logo into the lens. That might be something a bit different. And then I was looking at this and I thought, fuck, it's almost like the exact same size as a points cover. And then I thought, shit, I've actually made a points cover with my logo in it already. So I thought that would make a kick-ass lens. So I've only got a tiny bit of silicone left. So I'm not going to do a 2-piece mold just because I've only got enough really to do an open back. But I think that'll actually give us a nice kind of clean back of the mold. Anyway, let's get into that. See all those air bubbles in there? Very bad. You can degas it in a vacuum chamber. I didn't go that way because a vacuum pump and the vacuum chamber worked out to be a little bit more expensive to me than modifying a painter's pressure pot. Geez, I should have got a little mold ready for something else as well. I probably would have had enough there to do a 2-part. Okay. So, in there we go. Now we got to chuck the lid on. We've got a little pressure gauge on here. Pump her up to about 50 pounds. There we go. Let's finish off this fuel tank and oil tank. So I've got the front mount to weld on there. I've got to drill a little hole and weld a rear mount on there.
In this world full of fear, now I heard we can't go out at night. As fools roam the street, a drunk window light. But I just came to say, you and I hold the key, the medicine to save. And as the days go by, you just find that smile lives on in your eye. And I just know that you pass it on to your children. So that hope that you hold lives in the deepest soul. Little earthling, what's your name? Little earth, yeah.
It's a big old kind of a thing. So I might put this here and then put the oil filter like that, so that they should look quite chunky. The other option was put that there, but I want to have this easy to pull the battery in and out. And I intend on having a flap door on that side, which just covers all that stuff anyway, so let's get into it.
Just a dream they wake from life you face.
So we got the tap at full depth in there. This is the sketchy tap eject. Told you it's sketch. So it loosened off in there now. Oh, motherfucker. Right. Undo the super safe tap eject. By far the safest and most successful way to remove a tap every time.
What did you do for the voiceover? Just recorded your phone and then...
Yep. So we got this little guy. That bolts on there like so. So that's how she's gonna sit. Oil lines are just gonna sneak up on the tyre side of the swing arm. So might build a little shroud there, obviously just to stop all the rocks and all the debris when we do some insane burnouts. All right, we've got 1 day left, and as you can see, we've changed up the pipes. I had these pipes built for this frame, single down tube. So I'm gonna need to modify those pipes to fit on because I think they look 1,000 times better. So we've got this list we've got to punch through. Let's do it. You might have noticed where my thumb is, there's actually some slight indentations. Those indentations are from when I was using the needle scaler here to texture the surface, because it's next to a weld. There's a weld on the inside there. It's just pushed it in. So that really irks me and pisses me off. So what I'm going to do is I've drilled a little hole here in the back and I'm going to tap that out. And then that's pretty much the oil tank done. I've just got to pressure test it. So that'll either be really good or really shit. And then that's it, I can mount it. So can't wait. Pressure testing time. I just can't believe this. First, probably the trickiest tank I've ever done. And it's the first aluminium tank I've ever done with 0 fucking pinholes. So you can hear that leaking, and that's just leaking from under the cap. So check this out. So that's pretty fucking awesome. So I cut this here engine cover, and now it looks fucking shit. So let's fix it. Phew. We almost made it to NEWYCHOPPIN. It's Friday. It's 7 in the morning. I'll be leaving to head up there at 5 o'clock. Stayed a bit late till like 10 o'clock last night. Did my back in yesterday, moving my lathe, which I sold, which was fucking sweet. So now we just gotta finish up this puppy. So I think I'm actually gonna make a pipe for it today, but I've got to do everything else first and just see if I've got enough time. So gonna sort all the mids, get a new battery for it, finish the battery door. It's all wired up now. I've got to finish the linkages and whatnot and finish the headlight, pressure test the tank, mount it, do the seat mount. With any luck, I'll have my care package from Nick in Queensland coming down. I've got to put on a throttle and grips, and he's sent me down a new brake plate which is in chrome, so I'd love to get that on. Oh, also, yeah, I've got to finish this fucking little sprocket cover that I started on about half an hour before I left last night. It welded like absolute poo, being this die cast stuff, and typical me, no clean. So it's dog shit ugly on the inside, but I think it's gonna look heaps better than having that stupid cutout. So I'll finish that off first, actually. Bit of porosity there, but I don't really care. I feel like it looks better than it did with that big cutout on there. And it looks kind of ghetto, which is kind of cool. So the thing with this needle scaler is when you do it over the top of something like this, imagine it's stretching that whole outside layer. So check out how much it bananas that. So that's supposed to be, those two surfaces are supposed to be flat. So because it's stretched all that, it's pushed it around. So it's time to straighten that out a bit. So we'll just get her in here and do a bit of a squishing. Much better. Okay, I'm onto this right hand side foot control, which on this bike being a 75 is on the right side where I like it. But the shit thing about that is I didn't have the mids. So I've got some older mids. I've got this lever here, which is I think a shifter off a Sportster actually, maybe at 81, something like that. Anyway, I don't like how that whole thing mounts off that stud, and this bike having one brake, I'm just thinking if I mount it all off that and you push on the brake and that whole control snaps off, or say you going down a bumpy ass road, or I don't know. Look, just imagine you got one brake, you go to press on it, the whole foot peg snaps off. So fuck that. What I'm doing, I've machined up this little spacer. So I'm gonna tie this and triangulate this mid. So spaced out this bolt. So you can see there, that gives me a nice surface there to weld onto. And then that piece is just gonna mount off there. Then I'll have an arm off here that pulls on a solid rod to activate the drum. These ones run a cable standard that goes up there, but if I would rather rely on a solid rod than a cable, because I've had cables snap on me before. So I'm going to do that. Let's kick ass. What time is it? It's 11 o'clock on Friday, so got the throttle all hooked up. Still got to do tank, but just trying to get this trickier stuff out of the way. I've got to stick the oil lines in the motor, so should be sweet. fuzzy. It's alright. Well, she failed the pressure test. So it's leaking around this weld that I've blended in the cap. And if I remember correctly, I didn't weld the inside of this one because I never had planned to blend that in. I actually decided to blend that in after, and I forgot that I hadn't welded the inside. So I'm just gonna bang a big fat, or try and lay a smooth kind of weld around there. And then I've got a tiny pinhole there that I've just drilled out. And there's one tiny little pinhole just there that I've drilled out as well. So 2 pinholes, and that amateur fail by me of grinding out where I didn't have a weld on the inside. But this is why we pressure test. So just gonna have to weld her up. So I'm just going to leave that proud. I guess it kind of makes it look more like a cast kind of thing. I didn't end up blending in the front. Should weld up a thing on here. Alright, so I've just turned the compressor back down to 5 psi. If you're ever going to pressure test anything, don't pump 90 psi into your tank. Alright, so let's go for a ride. Let's see how we went. Okay, that's all looking good around the cap there. Those big bubbles, they're coming from the vent. There's nothing there from the outside. Okay. Just welded up some more of that 10mm. See if you guys can work out what it is I'm making here. We'll see how hot it is.